because now I'll have to talk about something which will be one of the very big new realizations by 2000 AD, which will be a realistic scientific accounting system of what is wealth. We now know that wealth isn't the goal that the old pirates used to have. Wealth is energy, and we have an Einstein in the world in which the scientists found that when energy left any local system, engine, it only did so by joining another system. It did not go out of the universe. But experiment after experiment, they found the energy never got lost. So they had to write an entirely new law of energy called the law of conservation of energy, which said energy can neither be created nor lost. So then suddenly we got a new clue to wealth. Wealth is not something that's going to deteriorate and get lost, which was a great way of thinking and all the economics. Next thing I discovered that wealth consists of something more than energy. It consists. So I find that now that every time we use it, we say, I make an experiment. Now, every time you make an experiment, you always learn more. You can't learn less. You may learn that what you thought was happening isn't happening. That saves you a lot of your time, because we want to then increase the effectiveness of our time. So I then say that the intellectual factor in wealth is one which every time we use it always improves. We always learn more. I've discovered that the energy part can't run down, and the intellectual factor, every time we use it, improves. Therefore, wealth, I discover, is something that always increases. So that I would then point out to you that we are going to be able to afford to make everybody customers, and we're going to be able to afford then to bring in your Africa, and this is the answer to your question. We talk all world, going to have to make all of humanity successful or none.
Was from 1967, Buckminster Fuller, and you saw the title. Wait, you said 1981. Well, if you look at that video, you watch that in 1 minute and 50 seconds, you're like, I don't know. Was he really alluding to Bitcoin? Maybe. But we got the receipts, baby. We're going to break into Buckminster Fuller's critical path. Okay? He wrote this in 1981 before he passed in 1983, and in quite excruciating detail describes not only Bitcoin, but the significance of quote-unquote time energy accounting in 1981. Now, first, we got to figure out who was Buckminster Fuller.
This is R. Buckminster Fuller, known around the world as Bucky. Now almost 90, Bucky Fuller is a cult figure to some. He's been called the Earth's friendly genius, while many folks have never heard of him. He has one of the longest entries in Who's Who, listing him as architect, writer, poet, mathematician, inventor, artist, and more. He coined the phrase Spaceship Earth, but his purpose has never been seeking fortune or fame.
The world isn't working for everybody. Why isn't it?
Because they're trying to solve all the world problems with politics.
Okay, so in short, Buckminster Fuller is one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. He did many things: inventor, engineer, architect, designer, poet, all these things. So we're going to go break into critical path in these passages and kind of go one by one, knock them down, and relate them to Bitcoin. So we don't have a lot of time. There's a lot to cover in this one, so let's get to it. Those in supreme power politically and economically as of 1980 are as yet convinced that our planet Earth has nowhere nearly enough life support for all humanity. All books on economics have only one basic tenet: the fundamental scarcity of life support. The supreme political and economic powers as yet assume that it has to be either you or me, not enough for both. That is why, 1, those in financial advantage fortify themselves even further, reasoning that unselfishness is suicidal. That is why, 2, the annual military expenditures by the USSR representing socialism and the USA representing private enterprise have averaged over $200 billion a year for the last 30 years, doubling it last year to $400 billion, making a thus for a total of $6,400 billion spent in developing the ability to kill ever more people at ever great distances in ever shorter time. So very interesting there. We have Buckminster Fuller. They're alluding to the military-industrial complex. Many people have done that. We know Austrian economists have done it ever since the former president from Kansas, Dwight D. Eisenhower, brought it up in his final speech as president. Now, what's interesting here is he kind of alludes to those in power will do anything to maintain that power. And that's something we have to be conscious of, regardless of a technological innovation. But also we know, just like Hayek, and it appears, as we'll get into it later, maybe Buckminster Fuller and Hayek read each other's work and vice versa, were friends, but he alludes to this as well. So let's get to the next section. All right, a little long, but necessary. Okay, neither the great political and financial power structures of the world, nor the specialization-blinded professionals, nor the population in general realize that sum totally the omni-engineering, integratable, invisible revolution in the metallurgical, chemical, and electronic arts now make it possible to do so much more with ever fewer pounds and volumes of material, ergs of energy, and seconds of time per given technological function that it is now highly feasible to take care of everybody on Earth at a higher standard of living than any have ever known. It no longer has to be you or me. Selfishness is unnecessary and henceforth unrationalizable as mandated by survival. War is obsolete. It could never have been done before. Only 10 years ago, the more with less technology reached the point where it could be done. Since then, the invisible technological capability revolution has made it even easier to do so. It is a matter of converting the high technology from weaponry to livingry. The essence of livingry is human life advantaging and environment controlling. With the highest aeronautical and engineering facilities of the world redirected from weaponry to livingry production, all humanity would have the option of becoming enduringly successful. All previous revolutions have been political. In them, the have-not majority has attempted revengefully to pull down the economically advantaged minority. If realized, this historically greatest design revolution will joyously elevate all humanity to unprecedented heights. And in there, I feel like he's getting to, after all this time, we've advanced so much, we've created computers, we've done all these things, and he's speaking again back in 1981 at the time of writing. Why are they still working harder? And remember, they were just coming off that inflation in the 70s that they had to correct with Paul Volcker, which you can't do today, because back then debt to GDP was 30%. Now it's 130%. You can't raise rates that high. You will collapse the entire global economy. Now let's get into some more of this. Technologically, we now have 4 billion billionaires on board Spaceship Earth who are entirely unaware of their good fortune. Unbeknownst to them, their legacy is being held in probate by general ignorance, fear, selfishness, and a myriad of paralyzing professional licensing, zoning, building laws, and the like, as bureaucratically maintained by the incumbent power structures. This is the big section here. Dismaying as all this paralysis may be, it will lead eventually to such crisis that comprehensive dissemination of the foregoing truths ultimately will be accomplished through 1. The world around integrated electronic media broadcasting, and 2. Think about this. The computerized switchover from the inherently inadequate life support accounting assumption of yesterday to the adequate for everyone and everything time energy accounting, comprehensively employed to the multi-billion galaxied, eternally regenerative universe itself, and exclusively to be accomplished world around integrated computer-facilitated, cosmically compatible accounting switchover will make it popularly comprehensible that we do indeed have 4 billion billionaires on our planet, thereby publicizing that fact and hereby inducing the systematic release of their heritage to all Earthian humans. All this accounting switchover must be accomplished before 2000 AD. Wealth is the accomplished technological ability to protect, nurture, support, and accommodate all growthful needs of life. Money is only an expediency-adopted means of interexchanging disparately sized, non-quotable items of real wealth. This is just incredible. When he gets into the time energy accounting, it just kind of blows my mind. And he already breaks into the idea of the power structures that are in place. There's no changing them from within. They're already what they are, and they'll do anything to maintain it. And going through this transition will be tough, but there's kind of no stopping it. Now he talks about trying to get this done before 2000 AD, and I'm wondering what all that was for. He does reference 2000 quite a bit in his writings. But when we talk about how the system today keeps those down and maintain and creates this wealth disparity, right? Fiat it sucks the life out of the middle class. It destroys it. It destroys your wealth over time, all the while increasing the bureaucratic state and those closest to the money printer through the Cantillon effect. And he's hitting on this right here big time. And when he talks into time energy accounting, I think he's getting into something immutable that can't be argued, that's based on math and fact. And you you can't contradict it, and you can't control it, and you can't co-opt it. And that's why he was saying it was so significant to the future of humanity. On to the next one. Computers do not have to see or feel anything. Computers do not deal in opinion judgments. They simply store, retrieve, and integrate all the information given them. The more relevant the information they are given, the more accurate that information, the better the answers that computer can give as to the consequences of doing thus. And so under a given set of circumstances, only the computer can cope with the astronomical complexity of integrating the unpredicted potentials of the millions of invisible technology gains in physical capabilities already accomplished. Only a world-considerate computer accounting will be able to produce the figures that will persuade all humanity to divert high science technology from weaponry to livingry. Computer capability will clearly manifest that we indeed now have 4 billion real wealth billionaires. Well, that's madness, you say. Well, with a sound money, with the ability to save their value over time, with the most desirable scarce asset on the planet, it is possible to achieve such a thing and to experience a life of deflation in which the cost of things goes down over time, as Jeff Booth has hit on. Please get a hold of the price of tomorrow. Now, Peter Schiff seems to think that gold is going to be there for all of time as a store of value in that. Buckminster Fuller said your gold is no longer money in this future. Now, let's take a look at it. Computers will relegate all gold to its exclusively functional uses as a supreme electromagnetic conduction and reflection medium, with its supremacy amongst metals also manifest as rated in weight and bulk per accomplished function. The computer will relegate all physical substances to their uniquely best functional uses. All the foregoing considerations demonstrate clearly why the computer accounting switchover is not only possible but mandatory and must be accomplished before the fear and ignorance of the billions of humans involved in the power structure's bureaucracies panic and push the atomic bomb release buttons. What makes us say panic of the major political, religious, and business bureaucracies? Bureaucracies will panic because all the great political, religious, and most of all big business systems would find their activities devastated by the universal physical success of all humanity. How sad is that? All the strengths of all great politics and religion and most of business are derived from the promises they give, assuaging humanity's seemingly tragic dilemma of existing in an unalterable state of fundamental inadequacy of life support. I mean, that is pretty awesome, and that is kind of deep. He was kind of getting into silent weapons and quiet wars there, talking about, and he does a little further, but talking about panics and shocks and these things to manipulate and keep the population guessing and unsure of themselves and not able to make adequate decisions. And all this is done to protect the silent weapon of all fiat money. Another thing he hits on is the fact that computers are capable of doing certain things humans aren't. And we talk about this to remove trust from the system. Is this what Buckminster was getting at with the computer and its implication in time energy accounting? I think he might have been. Now let's get into some more Buckminster Fuller time energy accounting here. And this last section was really what blew my hair back, and it might blow yours too. So go ahead and wear a hat. Do what you gotta do. I therefore predict that before the end of the 1980s, the computer's politically unbiased problem-solving prestige will have brought about the world's completely integrated electrical energy network grid. This world electric grid, with its omni-integrated advantage, will deliver its electric energy anywhere, to anyone at any time at a common rate. What monetizes energy and what allows you to send that value anywhere on the planet. This will make possible a world-around uniform costing and pricing system for all goods and services based realistically on the time energy metabolic accounting system of the universe. Hey, Satoshi built something pretty immaculate, okay? In this cosmically uniform common energy value system for all humanity, and this is nuts, costing will be expressed in kilowatt hours, watt hours, and watt seconds of work. Kilowatt hours will become the prime criteria of costing the production of the complex of metabolic involvements per each function or item. These uniform energy valuations will replace the world's wildly intervarying, opinion gambled upon, top power system manipulatable monetary systems. The time energy world accounting system will do away with all the inequities now occurring in regard to the arbitrarily maneuverable international shipping of goods and the top economic power structures banker invented international balance of trade accountings. It will eliminate all the tricky banking and securities market exploitations of all the around the world time zone activities differences in operation today, all unbeknownst to the at all times 2 billion humans who are sleeping. The world energy network grid will be responsible for the swift disappearance of planet Earth's 150 different nationalities. We now have 150 supreme admirals, all trying to command the same ship to go in different directions, with the result that the ship is going around in circles, getting nowhere. The 150 nations act as 150 blood clots in blocking the flow of recirculating metals and other traffic essential to realization of the design science revolution. I mean, I think he was just hitting on mining, and elsewhere in Critical Path, he talks about having the generators, what that will provide each human. This is just so incredible. And when you think back, this guy wrote this in the 1980s. He was really ahead of his time. Undoubtable. Was Buckminster Fuller Satoshi? Probably not. He died in 1983. But we know that there are certain people through time, right, that laid down the foundation and created that came in and built the blocks to go into that time chain and lead to the creation of Bitcoin. And one of those guys, there is no doubt about it, it was Buckminster Fuller. He laid some of those building blocks. And let's round it out with some fun stuff from Buckminster Fuller. All right, here we go. Here's another quote from Buckminster Fuller. If you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach them. Instead, give them a tool, the use of which will lead to new ways of thinking. Make you think of anything? Right? All right, I just got beauty on, coming in my brain here, hey, wallets, ethical wallets, give them to the people. The people need it, right? Put it in their hands. Put it right in their hands. And then from there, they're forced to learn. Think of how we each may have taught ourselves or learned from another pleb along the way, right? They eventually gave us Bitcoin. We had it in our own personal wallet or signing device. And then from there, we traveled down the rabbit hole, and the freedom virus takes hold. All right, let's go ahead and close it out today with this one. I think Bitcoiners will connect with this big time from Buckminster. We are called to be architects of the future, not its victims. And that's why we out here, we stay building in the bear market. We continue to preach best practices. We continue to deliver the message. We continue to stay on the mission. And we continue to win. You just experienced a little news of the day brought to you by Simply Bitcoin, your home for the peaceful revolution. Be sure to check out Simply Bitcoin live at 12:15 and join in the conversation with the after show straight from Twitter Spaces. Also, don't miss the wake up call. Get your news in 10 minutes or less every morning, Monday through Friday with the wake up call. You can get that at the Simply Bitcoin Twitter every morning, as well as with your favorite podcasts on Spotify and Apple. And again, be sure to check out Simply Bitcoin's YouTube for some awesome new Simply content, like the video essay, Eat Z Bugs, shout out to Paul at Birds Not Real, and more shorts and content coming from your boy here. So like, subscribe, and get those reminders set. Don't miss the Simply Bitcoin signal in its written form. Subscribe to Simply Bitcoin Unfiltered. Do it for the culture. That'll bring us to a wrap. Thanks to everyone again. Share us. Give us a pump. Get on that mission. Go wake some people up and go get yours today. I'll catch you bright and early tomorrow on the wake up call. Until next time, peace.